this video, I'm going to be taking you through everything that I spent and earned in the month of May and how I'll be budgeting for June. I think I'm pretty lucky because I live in a low cost of living city. Montreal is definitely one of the more affordable big cities in Canada. So I do have low housing costs. It's like less than 20% of my total income, which makes a big difference living alone. This month, I think the main takeaways were unexpected vet bills, paying a little bit too much onto my line of credit, trying to pay it down too aggressively, and not realizing that I would have surprise expenses later in the month. Also overspending a little bit on my hobbies and leaning into self-care during a somewhat difficult month personal-wise. So let's get into it. Okay, so jumping right into my income for the month of May, I had planned to receive around $6,800, but I ended up getting a little bit more than that. I had some payments come through a lot faster than I thought. As I've mentioned in previous videos, it's so common when you're a freelancer to get like invoices filled between like 60 to 90 days, but some of them were faster this time, so that was great. And I also received a payment that was late. It was supposed to come in March or April, so that's kind of why it's a bit boosted. I planned on selling a Fujifilm camera that I don't use, but I didn't have the time this month, so that's zero. And then a very exciting new income stream was that I made a whole $2.58 from YouTube. So that was a really, honestly, like that number is even more exciting than my general freelancing number. This was from affiliate links that I had in my apartment tour video, which went for me viral. So that was super exciting to see. So moving on to housing, there's not a lot to say here. This is like all fixed expenses. My total amount for housing every month is $1,578.43, or about $1,100 US. I'm really happy with that because it's always less than 20% of my total income. And I don't know, I just feel more comfortable with like a low housing expense. And then for transportation, this is more than it usually is because I've been taking French classes, so I have to go to the plateau every day, and that involves taking the metro. So instead of getting like one-off tickets, I just decided to get a month pass, which is $104.50. And then moving on to food and entertainment, you can see my spent amount is higher than the $250 that I try to spend for groceries. I feel like when I talk to friends about this, they tell me that like $250 is a really low amount to spend. So I'm not that upset that I'm over, but just for my own kind of like budget preferences, I would prefer to be around the $250, but it has been kind of hard because this month I've had to plan for French class meals, and I get a lot of like ready-made protein stuff, which just ends up being a lot more expensive. I really feel like I need to learn to meal plan better, but I have this issue where when I meal plan, I just end up snacking on everything that I made for my dinners, and then I just run out of food too fast. But that's something I have to work on. And then restaurants and entertainment, I planned $100. I ended up only spending $66. And this is because, like I said, the common theme of like every video lately is I'm taking full-time night classes for French. And so I don't really have a lot of time to socialize. So it kind of balances out that way. Then getting down to the personal category, I think I have to like restructure these categories because it's kind of random, but before I was sharing this with anyone, I didn't really mind, so maybe I'll just leave it. I don't know. My phone bill was a couple of dollars more expensive than usual. That's because I made a long distance call to Turkey last month, but not too bad. Subscriptions were lower than usual. I mentioned in my last video that I would cut back on some of the subscriptions that I had, so I canceled a UFC subscription, and I also canceled Crave, which is basically the Canadian version of HBO, and that brought it down quite a bit. Then I added a self-care category. I had some like tough stuff happen in my personal life this month, so this was kind of an emergency category. I went tanning before you come at me, I have psoriasis, and if I don't get enough vitamin D through the sun, my psoriasis starts flaring. So the spring has been so long to start in Montreal that I just did a tanning session. And then I also got a haircut. As you can see, my hair is a lot shorter than usual. I went to this place by my house. It was like this sweet older guy, and the haircut was only $53. It was actually $40, and then I tipped $10 plus the ATM fee, so that's not too bad. Then moving on to the lifestyle category, here's where I got in a lot of trouble this month. So for pet care, I usually plan about $40 for Ollie's food and litter, but I took him to the vet because, as I've mentioned in previous videos, he's 14 years old, and I had a feeling he might have been getting arthritis or something, so I took him to the vet to have that checked out. And this $880 was the Uber there, the Uber back, and then $842 for a checkup, blood work, and a new injection for arthritis that he's going to have every month. Work stuff, a little bit over budget. I still have to decide between which freelance writing newsletter I'm going to cancel. And then hobbies, $152. So this was on a camera case for my Insta360 camera, and then CapCut and Canva, which I use to edit my videos. I ended up buying a new mini mic on Amazon. I got a DJI mic mini because my other one stopped working. And then I also booked a Preply lesson. So this will be something that I'm going to work into my budget. I decided that I want to start taking French one-on-one conversation classes because even though I'm taking French group classes, that focuses more on grammar, and there's about 20 people in that class. So I feel like I'm not getting the same level of conversation practice that I was getting in my smaller Turkish classes that I took last year. So I think having just like a weekly call with a French-speaking tutor to kind of just chat with will help make my French progress a lot faster. And then moving on, so we have the health category. I mentioned in my last video I planned $40, and that was for a prescription that I have to get for psoriatic arthritis. That ended up being only $30, which is great. But then I decided I couldn't put off getting eyeglasses any longer. My French classes just made it so obvious that I really do need to fill the prescription that I got earlier this year. I just found myself not being able to see the board clearly, which is so embarrassing, especially because I'm one of the older people in the class. I mean, I'm not old, I'm 33, but it was really embarrassing to have to go up and take pictures of the board and be the person that's oh, I can't see, I need glasses. So I ended up finding this glasses place here in Montreal. I think it's called Bonhomme de Lunettes. It's in the Mile End, and they have pretty affordable glasses. So the frames were $70, and then I had to pay for the prescription to be put into the glasses, obviously. They haven't arrived yet, but I'm so excited to get them. But yeah, that kind of pushed me over budget in the health category. And then moving down to debt payoff. So this looks really messy. I realized I usually only use every dollar on my phone in the app version, and it looks a lot cleaner that way. But yeah, anyways, there's only two here to focus on, which is LOC2 and RRSP loan. So I was able to put $3,130 onto this loan repayment this month because of the additional income that I had coming in, which is great. So now the balance is at $5,870. And then my RRSP loan, it comes out automatically. So this is a fixed expense. It's always $813.64. I think the balance is not correct because I didn't account for the interest over the 40 months I'm supposed to take to pay this back. I think it's closer to $17,000 right now. But yeah, I'm very happy with the amount of debt payoff I was able to do this month. Although I think when I pay my credit card bill, I might have to take some money back out of credit because I did overpay before I realized I would be spending close to $1,000 on Ollie's vet bill. So this might go up a little bit next month. And then moving on to June. So I usually budget for about $4,000 from freelancing, but I did take a look at the invoices that are supposed to come in the next 4 weeks, and I think I should be receiving about $7,600 in total. Housing, fixed expense, it'll be the same. Opus card will be the same. Groceries and restaurants, the same. I did change the amount of money that I'm going to spend on self-care in June. Like I said, I've been going through a tough time in my personal life, so I just want to kind of give myself a bit of leeway in terms of taking care of myself. So I will be getting a pedicure this month, which I'm excited about, and I'm thinking about joining ClassPass. Even though there's a gym in my building, I really love the camaraderie of group fitness classes, so I might just try out ClassPass and see how much it costs in total for like 2 or 3 classes a month. I'd love to do mat Pilates somewhere downtown in Montreal. And pet care is another category that has had to change. So like I mentioned, Ollie is going to have an injection every month. I think the injection, the vet said, is about $240. Then I'll also have to take an Uber there and an Uber back every time. And then of course his food and litter. So I'm thinking it's going to be around $300. Medicine and vitamins will be around $40. And then because I have $3,500 left to budget based on what I'm expecting to get from my invoices, I will for sure be putting at least $1,000 on my line of credit and at least the $814 on the RRSP loan. And then the remaining $3,500, if I get all of that, I'm going to put it directly onto the line of credit. So that should bring it down quite a bit. So yeah, that's what I spent and what I earned in the month of May and how I afford to live in Montreal as a single person, like on just a solo salary. I do feel like my low cost of living makes a really big difference right now, especially with the unexpected costs of my cat and the debt payoff. I feel really lucky that I live in a low cost of living city because I definitely don't think it would be feasible to freelance and pay off all of this debt and deal with the unexpected expenses that have been coming up lately. So yeah, if you watched to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and I will see you in the next one. Bye.